Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Nerf Fortnite Dual Pack. This blaster pack came out this year in 2023 and is part of the Nerf Fortnite line. So with that out of the way, let's get started by talking about the box. Starting off with the front of the box, we have this very basic packaging, pretty standard with most Nerf Fortnite blasters. We have pictures of the blasters, Fortnite character in the corner, and some basic information about this blaster pack. Of course, this being a blaster pack means we get more than one blaster, these blasters being the LP, which is this blaster, and the Flintlock, which is this one. We also get 6 Nerf Elite darts. This blaster pack is ages 8+. It has plastic-free packaging. Flipping it to the other side, we have some more information about the blasters. And the information we get is the priming systems for each of the blasters. So the LP is a slide primed blaster, and the Flintlock is a hammer primed blaster. And what seems to be the norm these days, the instructions are on the bottom rather than having a sheet of paper telling you how to use the blasters. So with that all the way, let's get these blasters out of the box. Alright, so here we have the LP and the Flintlock out of the box. And before we talk about blasters, let's talk about the darts real quick. So in this blaster pack, we get 6 Nerf Elite darts, but in 2 different colors. Starting off, we have this dark blue body with light blue head dart. And then we have this black body with a red head dart. Now onto the blasters themselves, starting off with the LP. So the LP is a very simple single shot muzzle loaded blaster. Load a dart in like so. It does stick out a little bit. Could be seen as a problem. But to prime the blaster, it's a simple slide prime, and the slide is reciprocating. All we have to do is pull the trigger. Seems to work pretty well. And now onto the Flintlock. This is a hammer primed blaster, and the hammer is reciprocating. Same basic deal with the LP. It's a single shot muzzle loaded blaster, and as you can see, the dart actually doesn't stick out at all. Very nice. Can this thing really be used one-handed? I mean, I guess, but I don't want to put my finger in the trigger, in the trigger guard. So let me see. It's kind of difficult to get it one-handed. You kind of want to have your. I guess the best place for, at least for me, is putting my finger in the trigger guard to reach it. I don't know, it's a little bit strange. This blaster doesn't appear to be able to use one-handed, or it's kind of difficult, at least for me. Maybe for some other people it's not that big of a deal. So none of these blasters have any rail attachments, barrel attachment points, or stock attachment points, and there's no magazines, so these are pretty simple blasters. So without further ado, let's get these things out on the range and see how they fare. Alright, here we are at the range test. As you can see, we have our targets set up over there. We're going to be starting off with the LP, load up with Nerf Elite. We're going to be firing 6 shots each of each dart. And yeah, let's see if this thing is accurate. And by the way, that is your sight picture. I'm a little confused why they didn't add proper sights. The blaster is wide enough to accommodate them. I don't know. Let's see if we can hit anything. Straight, but is aiming down. That was too high and pretty much made it to the 50-foot mark. Almost. Well, we didn't hit anything because it's Nerf Elite, and Nerf Elite, as usual, goes all over the place. Let's move on to the next dart, onto Adventure Force. It misfired. Didn't even come out of the barrel. Let me try another dart. Much straighter. That one went down. Seems to not like Adventure Force too much. My gosh, I keep hitting the table. I probably have to practice using this to hit anything. Also, the barrel doesn't appear to be very tight. So those Adventure Force ones that fit a little loose, they just don't fire. Let's see how Dart Zone fares. All right, moving on to Dart Zone. Oh, we actually hit something. Okay, why is this the one that's like, what is going on? That's 3. Okay, four missed, and I'm aiming with one hand and barely aiming. That's 5 and 6. I don't hit anything with Nerf because obviously Nerf's flying all over the place, and then Adventure Force just isn't going anywhere. But then Dart Zone comes in and is like, we're hitting most of the thing. Most shots are gonna hit something. Anyway, let's move on to the Flintlock. Moving on to the Flintlock, starting off with Nerf Elite. Anyway, let's see if we can hit anything. Oh, and by the way, that's your sight. You don't really have sights. I'm not sure how you're supposed to aim this thing. Oh, we hit something. Well, better than the LP. All right, let's move on to the next dart. All right, moving on to Adventure Force, and these do appear to fit a little bit better in this barrel than it does the other. I will say there is possibly a flaw with this blaster, and that's the fact that the dart goes all the way in. So if you have to remove the dart, you're gonna have to kind of dig it out. Let's see if we can hit anything. Absolute miss. Well, the barrel appears to be a little bit tighter than the LP. Anyway, let's move on to the last dart. All right, moving on to Dart Zone. Yeah, missed. Oh, we got a second. We did hit something. We hit the blue can. It just didn't break apart. Hit the egg and knocked it off the table. And it went under the table. All right, so appears to be pretty standard results, being that Dart Zone always seems to hit its target. So I'm just gonna shoot another one because I kind of want to. There we go. Anyway, let's move on to the range test. All right, here we are at the range test. And for context, the chicken marks 25 feet. The swan marks 35 feet. The frog marks 40 feet. And the far back wall marks 50 feet from where I'm standing. We're gonna be starting off with the LP, loaded up with Nerf Elite. We're gonna be firing 6 shots each, just like the accuracy test. Straight to the 35-foot mark. If you didn't curve, probably same deal. Would have gone to the 35-foot mark. Shot 3 did not really go that far. Went down. But 4, 35. Would have gone 40 if the wall wasn't there. Hit the wall. 35. So I'd say around the 35-foot mark. Maybe a little bit less for some of those. But it seemed to be general consensus 35 if it wasn't going straight into the dirt. Moving on to Adventure Force. Like 38. Almost 40. 35. Less than 35. That's maybe that's about 33 actually. A little over 35. 35. 35. Okay, seems to be going about 35 when they actually get the dart out. Moving on to Dart Zone. 25. 35. 34. That one went into the frog. 35. Almost 35. 40. It seems to fire all the darts to the 35-foot mark. Most of them went there. I think we got a pretty good grasp on where they're landing, so I don't think we have to walk over there. Oh shoot, I didn't quit my microphone. If the audio sounds weird, I didn't put the microphone on. Oops. Anyway, let's move on to the onto the next blaster, onto the flintlock. So we're moving on to the flintlock, starting out with Nerf Elite 35. Very lofty, but went to the 40. 40. Shot 4. Hit the wall. That actually whistled, hit the wall. Probably would have made it to 40. Went to the 50-foot mark. Kind of interesting results there. Let's move on to the next darts, which is Adventure Force. Almost the 35-foot mark. It was like 33, 34. 35. 35. 35. Around the 32 mark maybe, and I'd say 34. Last dart, the dart zone. About 36, 37 almost. That one had a great air seal, almost made it to the 40-foot mark. 35. 37. Almost 40, like 39. 35. So just like the LP before, I'm actually not going to go down there and take a look at the darts. Instead, I'm just going to, well, put the ranges up on screen for the LP. I forgot to mention that. And then I'm going to put the Flintlocks ranges up on screen now. Kind of the same deal, but it seemed to be very consistent with all darts. That'll be the end of the range test. So let's move on to the speed test. Alright, here we are at the speed test. We're going to be starting off with the LP. Loaded up with Nerf Elite 63, 71, 69, 72, 68, and 74. Next, we're going to be using Adventure Force 64, 62, 60, 63, 69, and 62. Lastly, Dart Zone 68, 64, 62, 61, 66, 64. Alright, let's move on to the Flintlock, starting out with Nerf Elite 61, 68, 60, 63, 61, and 58. Next dart, Adventure Force 55, 62, 63, 62, 61, and 60. Lastly, Dart Zone 57, 59, duplicate 59, 61, duplicate 61, and 58. So here are the speeds. Starting off with the LP firing Nerf Elite, we had an average of 69.5, minimum of 63, and a maximum of 74. Next we had the LP firing Adventure Force, an average of 63.33, a minimum of 60, and a maximum of 69. Next we have the LP firing Dart Zone at an average of 64.17, a minimum of 61, and a maximum of 68. Moving on to the Flintlock, we had an average of 61.83, a minimum of 58, and a maximum of 68. On to Adventure Force, we have an average of 60.5, a minimum of 55, and a maximum of 63. And Flintlock firing Dart Zone, we have an average of 59.17, a minimum of 57, a maximum of 61. So anyway, let's move on to my final thoughts. Alright, so what are my final thoughts on the Nerf Fortnite dual pack? But before we do that, as usual, we need to go where I bought it and how much I spent. I purchased these blasters at Target for $21.99 USD. So with the pricing out of the way, let's move on to talking about the blasters themselves. So our first point is aesthetics, starting off with the LP. So shape-wise, LP I think looks pretty cool. It's a very standard, basic looking pistol. Kind of looks sort of realistic, so keep that in mind if you're planning on painting this blaster. And speaking of paint and colors, I think the dark blue looks quite nice on this blaster, and the white stripe looks pretty cool, though it does not go all the way around the blaster. Else to keep in mind, if it'll focus, paint kind of smeared on mine. Not sure if that's on all LPs, but mine kind of has these little smear marks on it, so there is that to keep in mind. But when it comes to this color, this kind of mint green, blue or something, however we want to call it, whatever color you want to call it, I think Head and Shoulders, when I say that's a shampoo. Not sure how I feel about this color with the rest of this color scheme here. I guess it looks all right. I guess it kind of blends well with the blaster. We also have this kind of hexagonal honeycomb looking texture on it. I think that's pretty cool. Moving on to the flintlock. This blaster, shape-wise, is a little more interesting than the LP. Of course, it's supposed to look like a flintlock pistol, so it has all these flintlock details. Yeah, I think it looks pretty neat. And it does make sense that this is a muzzle-loaded single-shot blaster. This one makes a lot of sense. Color-wise, I think it looks all right. Red and black, pretty simple, can't really go wrong with that. But I will say the polka dot texturing is a little confusing to me, why they chose polka dot texturing on this. In a way, it kind of takes away from the detailed engraving into this blaster. Yeah, kind of distracting, I'd say. But anyway, I still think the flintlock looks pretty cool. Next point is compatibility. Let's talk about the LP's dart compatibility. So this blaster seems to use Nerf and Dart Zone without a problem, but it struggles to use Adventure Force well. It might just be on my LP, but the dart fit is pretty bad. The Adventure Force darts are a little bit skinnier, so they don't fit in the barrel well, and they just pop out. You have all the air going around the dart, which is why a couple of those darts just don't even come out of the barrel. This blaster does appear to have that as an issue. But then again, might just be on mine, because these blasters are mass produced, so a whole bunch of variation is in these blasters. The flintlock, on the other hand, seems to use all the darts pretty well. I haven't had any issues with Adventure Force not coming out of the barrel or anything like that. Though I will mention something here. It's just how far the dart goes into the barrel. Most Nerf blasters, the dart sticks out just a tad bit, so you'll be able to grab the head and pull it out. But with Nerf, it doesn't seem to have a problem, but you still kind of have to grab the head and pull it out. But it's not the same for something like Adventure Force, which is flat walled, unlike this, which is slightly tapered, meaning you have to really dig the dart out, and you do have a risk of ripping the head off. There is that to keep in mind. Next, we have build quality. Starting off with the LP, there are some things to mention with this blaster. So the overall construction of the blaster is fine, but you can see there's some stress marks on the blaster. Here's the funny thing, right? When I took it out of the box, so this right here was already there. And something else to note is there's stress marks right there. That is I think something to hold the slide together. Those were not on the blaster when I took it out of the box. So I'm not sure why it's like that, but that is something to keep in mind. Moving on to the flintlock. Flintlock doesn't seem to have any problems with, like, it's not flexible or bendy or anything. It's actually a pretty solid blaster. It doesn't appear to have any stress marks anywhere in the mechanism, so it should be fine. But then again, it could have some internal issues. We don't know. Overall, it looks okay. Build quality of the flintlock seems to be a little better than the LP. So next point is reliability. Now, this type of blaster is kind of hard to gauge reliability. These blasters, of course, being single shot muzzle loading blasters. This section might sound the same as the compatibility section. These blasters are heavily mass-produced blasters, so there's a lot of variation in what comes off the factory line. My LP has problems with Adventure Force, but yours might not. My Flintlock has no issues with darts, but yours might issues with, let's say, a dart zone. So that's pretty much all I have to say about reliability. Throw something else in here like consistency. Both of them seem to be pretty consistent with their speeds. When doing the speed tests, all the speeds seemed pretty consistent. Range was iffy at times. A lot of times most of them were going to the 35-foot mark for both of these. Accuracy, I feel like this one was a little more accurate than this one. Yeah, I think I'll be into this point. So the last point I want to make is value. What are you getting for your $21.99 USD? So you are getting 2 blasters, but both of them are single shot muzzle loaders. Pretty much exactly the same. And you're also only getting 6 darts, which isn't a lot. But would I recommend the Fortnite dual pack? I would say if you really want these blasters, wait for them to go on sale. This is one of those times where I feel like it's a little bit of a high price. Yes, I understand they had the Fortnite branding and everything, and they're exclusive, at least at this time, they're exclusive to the pack, but I really don't think they're worth their original retail price. Nothing wrong with the blasters, I mean, other than some stress marks and stuff, and this one might have them, but you just don't see them, but I don't think they're worth $11 each. So anyway, that'll be the end of the review. Comment your thoughts about these blasters down below. Comment what else you want to see on the channel. Be sure to check out my review on the Nerf Fortnite SMG Zesty, another Fortnite blaster. Be sure to check out my other reviews, and yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.